Hello from Luxembourg. I've been in Luxembourg since last night. I've had a wonderful day here. I've spent the evening exploring the city. Now I'm back in my hotel room, but you can see behind me the rooftops of Luxembourg. The sun's going down. It's been a beautiful spring day here, and it's quite an amazing city. Just walking around, it's very clean. The buildings are beautiful, and I've really loved listening to many different languages. There's lots of French, there's lots of German. I've also heard Italian, I've heard Spanish, and I've heard a brand new language, Luxembourgish, which is a kind of bizarre mixture of French and German and Italian and Dutch. Um, and it's really quite a wonderful place, and I hope to be back here. I spent the day today telling stories at the International School of Luxembourg, and I shared with them a lovely selection of stories from all over the world, and it was so valued and appreciated in an environment where being multicultural and having many languages, it's so integral to the whole experience. And I really enjoyed sharing stories from some cultures that maybe aren't so represented. Some stories from West Africa, from Jamaica, along with stories from cultures that they are very familiar with. So it was a lovely selection, and I also really enjoyed sharing with them a story uh, from here in Luxembourg, and it was not a story that they had heard of, and it's a legend about just over 1,000 years ago. Um, Count Siegfried, he established Luxembourg by building a huge fortress, stronghold, and really established his power here in Luxembourg. And like all powerful men, it was important to him to have a beautiful woman by his side. And he fell in love with Melusina, who was such a beauty. He couldn't resist her, but she was a very mysterious woman. Where she had come from was a mystery. She wasn't a woman of stature. She didn't have an important family around her. It was as though she'd just appeared out of nowhere. And Count Siegfried, he fell hopelessly in love with her. And he invited her into his home, into his fortress, where he hoped to keep her, to contain her. But Melusina, she was a special woman. She couldn't quite be completely contained, even in this big, powerful fortress. There was a wildness about her. And before she agreed to marry Count Siegfried, she said to him that he had to promise her something. He had to promise her that for one night of every month, she would be allowed to leave the castle, and she could not be followed, and she would not reappear until the next morning. And he would give her this one night of freedom every month. Then she would agree to be his wife. Well, Count Siegfried wanted Melusina so desperately that he was happy to put his male pride to one side and grant her this wish, this promise. And when they were married, for the first Wednesday of every month, Melusina would disappear. And she wouldn't return until the early hours of Thursday morning. And Count Siegfried, he accepted this, he got used to it. And they lived very happily for many, many years. Until the Count's curiosity got the better of him. And his pride got the better of him. Because where was his wife going? He was a count. He ruled the land. He had built this magnificent fortress, and yet his own wife, a mere woman, was able to just disappear. and not come back until the following morning. And he had a right to know where she was and what she was doing. So he decided to follow her. One Wednesday night, the first Wednesday of the month, when Melusina disappeared, he followed her. He followed her route down through the palace, down into the very depths of the fortress, where there were dark, dank, cellar-like rooms. He watched Melusina disappear into one of these, and he saw the door slam behind her. And then he waited, and he could hear the sound. He could hear the sound of water. And right underneath them, there flowed a river, the river that flows through Luxembourg to this day. And the Count, he put his big, strong hands on the door of the cell, and he pushed it open. And when he looked round, he could not believe what he saw. He saw his beautiful wife, Melusina, lying in a bath, a stone bath filled with water. There she was in all her beauty, her long hair, her beautiful face, her bare skin. But down her body, from her waist, her skin became scales. Melusina had turned into a mermaid. This was what she did on the first Wednesday of every month. She resumed her natural form. When Melusina saw the eyes of her husband staring at her, looking at her tail, her fin, she pulled herself out of the bath. She dragged herself over to the window, and she fell down and down into the river and was never seen again. Although it is said that on the first Wednesday of every month, if you go down to the river at night, you might just see the movement of her fin as Melusina, the mermaid, swims past. I hope you enjoyed that story. I hope to be back in Luxembourg with more stories, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.